Greetings, everyone, and happy Tuesday. It is the AHYSEN Nation again. Good afternoon, good morning. Is it morning or afternoon? I don't even know.
That's a good question.
It's morning?
I lose track of
It's
time.
afternoon for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's like nighttime. It's almost dinner time.
Yes. I have a special guest. Cali Hubbard is with us from our morning show, and Cali's one of the newer additions to the morning show, and what a great addition you are.
Oh, thank you. I mean, people like you make it so, like walking into the newsroom, it's like a cup of coffee.
You're so sweet. So give me a little bit about your background. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Michigan, so right outside of the thumb, right outside of Detroit, Metro Detroit area. Went to school on the west side of Michigan, and then lived in North Dakota for 2 years, doing something similar to this. And then I moved here because I couldn't take the 70 below weather.
Oh my God. Now, are you serious about that? Because a lot of people that live up there love the cold.
With the wind chill, yeah, it's that cold. My dog would just shrivel to the ground because she would freeze.
Oh my God.
So it was more so for her than for me.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
So you've been here now how long?
Since March 1st was my first day here. So.
Okay. Yeah. So March, April, May, June, July. So this is your first hurricane season.
Yep.
Your first time to ever have crawfish, I would think.
Yeah, on the air.
Your first time to ever say a chafalaya.
Yeah, a chafalaya. You taught me that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's because I mispronounced it for so many years when I moved here
Really?
from the Houston area. But I've been here since, gosh, dog, way before you were born. Just saying. So Cali's on with us. We're going to introduce you to some of our 9 News folks periodically on AHYSEN Nation. And you did you've kind of put yourself into a story about mental health. Mm-hmm. And you had some statistics about mental health issues. And I'm just going to let you start from the very beginning. So where did you go and what did they tell you?
Yeah, so this kind of started with this event. The Bridge Center for Hope right here in Baton Rouge had this event, and they're going to be doing them throughout the whole summer. But they're bringing a whole bunch of different other community resources together, and they're inviting the community to go out to learn about mental health. You know, what's anxiety, what's depression, where can I go to get these resources? And so a lot of people, I guess it was and this year alone, 47% of Louisiana here reported symptoms of anxiety or depression. And so that's just crazy, you know, almost half. And so, but throughout that period too, I went to Oceans Behavioral Hospital. They opened up a new campus, so they have a psychiatric hospital there where you can seek treatment, and then they have an outpatient option as well, so they can go out and help you too. And then also June was also Men's Health Month. Mm-hmm. And so why it's important for men to get out and you know, you're never too tough for things like mental health, and there's kind of a lot there, but that's the gist of it.
Now, is this video that we have here, is that the what is that?
So this is video of that community event that they were having. So this is Charlotte Claiborne with the Bridge Center for Hope. And so she's basically talking to people here. This is when their facility opened up. It's the first ever adult crisis center in the East Baton Rouge Parish. And so these are just kind of some clips of just, you know, mental health. It can, this is the suicide in East Baton Rouge Parish, the suicide
I
rates
want to go
kind
back
of.
to that. I don't know if I can pause it, but I want to go back to that and look at that.
Yeah, it kind of shows how it just goes up over time, and then it shows Louisiana's graph as well, which is just crazy
Right.
to think about.
Let's see. So this is just Louisiana, this graph here?
Louisiana's the top bar, and
Oh,
then
right.
East Baton Rouge
East
is
Baton
the
Rouge is
bottom.
bar. I got it.
Yeah.
Might have to go out, clip that. So now, is
Yeah.
the Bridge Center an inpatient? Is it an outpatient? What kind of facility is that?
Yeah, it's a nonprofit organization.
But do people go and
And-
live there, or do they just go and get assistance and go back to their lives, back and forth?
I think it might be a little bit of both. So this is when their facility first opened, so they had beds in there as well. We have a phone number on our website, so this is kind of the price comparison when it comes to mental health.
Wow.
It's just hard to kind of get these services, but the Louisiana Department of Health was talking about how through the Medicaid program it assists you with mental health and substance abuse as well, which is kind of cool too,
Wow.
to get those resources.
That is just amazing. So now you talked about 47% of Louisianians in the past year have had anxiety, depression, panic attacks. Is that related to COVID? Is that related to the pandemic, or is it related to flooding issues? Some people have flooded, as you've seen, twice now, sometimes 3 times.
Yeah, I think with the floods, Charlotte was even talking about this too, that they've just seen numerous calls within the past year because of, the pandemic. We're forced to be in isolation. We're forced to not interact with people. And so that's when they're getting these phone calls. And, a lot of people don't even know that are aware that they have these mental illnesses, so that they're pushing it off. And then over time, it just kind of snowballs. And so finally, just kind of having a resource like this is just been
It's incredible.
good for the community. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's somebody that has an anxiety disorder, and I've talked to you about this many times on the air and on the AHYSEN Nation, and I'm not ashamed of it, but I was formally diagnosed back when I was 14 years old, when they didn't know a lot about that. And as I've gotten older, at periods of time, the anxiety is actually worse than it was. And there's panic attacks, which are different from anxiety attacks. And then there's depression, which kind of relates to all of that. Never had any desire to hurt myself or anything like that, but definitely have these issues that I don't have a problem talking about at all, because I've mentioned on the air before about my anxiety issues, and actually got a text or two or an email or two from a couple of folks that said, thank you for putting that out like that, because it is an anxiety disorder is a mental illness, and you have to say that to yourself, and you have to, but it is a treatable one. But a lot of folks that have never had anxiety in their life, I've talked to 3 people that I know personally that I'm not going to put their name out, but have never had anxiety issues in their entire life until the pandemic. And then the isolation and the pandemic itself, and the worrying about and the loss of friends and family, not knowing what part of the COVID brings you down, and what part, some people have no problem, some people in the hospital and can be fatal. So that has brought a lot of attention to the anxiety issues as well. Did you hear anyone in your interviewing these folks talk about people that have never had anxiety now coming in to see them?
Yeah, that's kind of why, especially Ocean's expanded their campus, because people are going in and they're kind of at a point of, it's just crazy. You go into one of these rooms and you just see every little trinket, the bed, the way that they're not even real doors, because they don't want people to come in and harm themselves. So they have to think about every little, even the waiting room when you go in before you actually go back, if you're staying at the facility. Just like the knobs and every little nail on the door, it just has to be well thought out. And these are expensive, pieces, but it's keeping these people safe. Just because COVID, really forced people
It
to.
took us all for a loop.
Yeah.
It took us all for a loop. I mean, you moved down here kind of during it, I guess. Did you have any apprehensions or any anxieties yourself about making a move like that during a pandemic?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, anxiety is something that I struggled with too. It's something I was diagnosed like you, but in college. So cheering in college, there was a certain pressure, a bar, I had to get all A's growing up, you have to reach that. And then when you kind of go off and do your own thing, and then same thing with moving even from Michigan to North Dakota was a transition, but then moving from there to the South, it's familiarity, you don't know anyone, and that's why I just can't say thank you enough, like to the morning team, to people like you, Johnny, show me PQ lane, driving me around town. But yeah, definitely, and it's something that, what makes me happy? Am I doing these things? Am I focusing on my mental health? Am I writing down the things I'm grateful for every day? Am I really taking the time out of my day to focus, okay, how am I feeling? Is what's really helped for me too.
So self-talk?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like this exercising, getting those endorphins going. Yeah.
That's what I've missed, because I haven't been in my routine of the exercise for a while, because I've been with my anxiety disorder, too nervous to go back to group classes kind of deal.
Okay, with COVID.
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty much, it's getting under control. I've been double vaccinated, but I have anxiety about people that aren't vaccinated. I want them to get vaccinated, and it's a personal thing, and I shouldn't be worried about that. I'm double vaccinated. Everybody should have it's a personal
I'm
thing.
vaccinated, don't worry.
No, I know. But so when you moved down here, was there anything after you got here that caused you anxiety in an area or areas that you were a little surprised that you were having anxiety about?
Yeah, I think, there's always a pressure. I feel like TV in general, like people don't talk about this, but there is a pressure to, I didn't know anything about hurricanes when I moved here. I didn't know about termites. I didn't know about, all things LSU. I'm learning every day. But
those are normal things when you moved from this place way over to somewhere new. Those are normal anxiety. In my opinion, they would be normal anxieties.
Yeah, and what little things that like stress me out seem silly, to someone else. And then hearing about someone else's, anxieties seems kind of silly to you, but I think that's kind of what helps. When you hear, like, that's what they're worried about, well, like, why am I worried about then? So that's just kind of the way I take it. But
have you been on an airplane since COVID?
Yeah. What about you?
Not yet.
No.
I'm nervous about doing that. But again, vaccinated, but I'm nervous about doing that.
Yeah. I think wearing the mask helps. They did some sort of study where if like two people were on a plane, I forget exactly what it was, and like 2 hours later, one person showed symptoms of COVID and one didn't, and they noticed that the mask significantly made a difference, but I could totally see that,
Well, you hear there's so much out there. You hear when the mask doesn't work, the mask does work, the vaccine doesn't work, the vaccine does work. I just finally called my doctor and I said, I'm hearing so many things about this all over the place. Do I get vaccinated or not? And he said, you're rolling the dice either way. You're going to roll the dice by getting the vaccine. You're going to roll the dice by not getting it, and rolling the dice meaning you could get COVID. And in his opinion, he said rolling the dice with the vaccine is a much safer alternative than just to hope you don't get a variant. And even he said some of his patients got COVID and had very little symptoms, and they feel like, well, if I get it, this is how it's going to. And my doctor said, you don't know that because of the variant. The different variants, as this thing mutates, you don't know if you've had it, if you're going to have the same kind of symptoms if you get the variant. Like right now, they're talking about the Delta variant. How more contagious it is, and people are staying in the hospital longer, and people that would not have normally gone to the hospital with the first version of COVID are now, getting sick. So those are the things that, I have anxiety about.
Yeah, it's like as soon as like the dust starts to settle, it's like it picks up again and something else is added into the mix, whether it's the vaccine, whether it's this new variant, whether it's, yeah.
How does that make you feel? I mean, do you have anxiousnesses about that, or you're like, you know what, I just got to deal with this. I'm just gonna calm down, do my job.
So my mom has 2 like autoimmune diseases, and so my parents both work in healthcare. They're not doctors or anything, but thinking about what I could do if I give it to them. My dad that works at one of the biggest hospital chains like in Michigan, and how fast that could spread and what the nurses had to go through, because being in news, you have to tell those stories every day. All I was doing for the past year was telling COVID stories, especially in Fargo, and being in the ICU floor and just seeing everything for just how it can spread like wildfire, and thinking about what could happen to my mom and what's happened to my friends' parents that have passed from COVID. I think having that personal tie with it, it makes me realize like these are family, you know, and so I think a part of it really did stress me out, but I think through prayer and through focusing on the good, and focusing on what I do have and being present and having joy and the little things has really helped.
God, that's textbook what they say to do with anxiety issues. You know, be in an attitude of gratitude, be grateful for the positive things, focus on the positive things, and don't worry about the what ifs. You know, all we have is this second right now, you know? That is so awesome.
So
now, you were playing with the idea, if I remember conversation in the break room one morning, you were playing with the idea of going into the medical field, were you not?
Yeah.
What were you thinking about going into?
So I wanted to be an ophthalmologist. I wanted to be an eye doctor. And growing up, like at age 12, my mom and I were like Googling like what jobs in the medical field make the most money. That's all we did for like years. And I went back and forth, but my mom works for an eye doctor. She's not an eye doctor. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. Worked for an eye doctor like for a summer and all that. And I was like, I can't sit in an office all day and do this. Like, I think eyes are cool, but in a lot of ways, eyes are like a camera. They have a lens, they can focus, you know, you can put your hand up in front of your face and focus on your hand and then focus, you know, in the background. So I think cameras really intrigue me, and talking to people really intrigue me. And then health in general, you know, intrigues me as well. So that's why I love doing the stories like mental health or any other health related story. But yeah, they weren't too happy when I told them I was switching
Well,
majors.
if y'all were online looking for careers and what made the most money, and, and you're in television, do they know you're in television?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just, you know, therein lies her parents' stress level. That's why they have anxiety. She's in TV and not in medicine. Yeah, you might not make a whole lot of, you might not make the money you could make in medicine.
Yeah.
But getting back to the mental health thing, this is just fascinating to me. So, what did you learn from your interviewing, like at the Bridge and some of these other places? As far as, is there any advice that they would give to someone who is struggling, and yet the stigma about mental health and seeing a social worker or a psychologist or whatever, did they give you any advice to give to people who may be struggling with some type of anxiety issue, whether it's from the pandemic or from something in your personal life or a loss or floods? What would be the first step in getting that person some help?
Yeah, I'd say reaching out is the biggest thing. Conversation around it. And if you don't feel comfortable going to a mental health professional, if you have someone close to you that you can trust, and just getting something out, like just getting those stresses out, I think is the first step to it, because a lot of people are scared to go out. They're scared to spend money. It's expensive, you know, it can be. So,
but a lot of insurance programs cover mental health programs because of everything going on in the world. I know our company does.
Yeah, and eventually, like, does it run out too? Is it a certain number of visits? And there can be anxieties too around, okay, well, I only have, you know, this number of visits, and I need something longer term. But I think that's like the most important thing, is being mindful. Okay, how am I feeling? Is this normal? When was the last time I was happy? Or when was the last time I felt peace and bliss in my life? And then I would reach out.
See, that's hard to do for a lot of folks that have had, and you mentioned a minute ago, you've had personal loss in your life from COVID? You know people who have died from COVID, or your family knows people? Yes?
Yeah. And I had a hard time with COVID too. For 2 months. Yeah. But I think that just makes you realize just the impact and what it can do to you. But it made my whole family, all my friends, a lot more aware, because I got it back in April of last year.
Oh, so you actually had COVID?
Yeah, I had COVID.
And were you living at home?
I was in Fargo.
Right. So you weren't living with your mom who has the autoimmune issue. You were.
No, I wasn't.
Gotcha.
No, I wasn't.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that helped, but still, I kind of went through it by myself. I didn't
That's
have mom
tough.
taking care of mom, dad.
But see, a lot of people did, and then the people that didn't get it, like the folks in the nursing homes, were secluded and had nobody at all, no visitors. Because some people in nursing homes, they'll have their sons or daughters or relatives go in morning and afternoon twice a day, and they went from once and twice a day of visitation to nothing for months. And I got to believe that the mental health in the senior communities was an issue. Did you hear anything about that in your stories?
Oh yeah, it's definitely an issue in seniors too, and I think that's what Oceans was saying as well. I don't remember the exact statistics, but yeah, it's that age group where it's just, how do you know, how?
Well, that's why I'm glad the thing is, I'm hoping getting under control. You know, it's being in the media, I have to limit my exposure to our own TV station sometime with regard to the news and the information, because there are so many ways to connect. There's so many ways to get the information, and at some point you just gotta, I have to pull myself away from it completely and step back and just take a breather. I know some friends of mine have gotten off of Facebook for the same reason. They're like, there's so much out there, I gotta take a break. So they've kind of paused their account, or however you do that or whatever. But it's hard for us in the media to get away from it, because we have a responsibility to report it.
Yeah.
So
You got a work phone or a personal phone and your
text
email.
and emails 24/7.
You have your email notifications on, and then you see like your name pop up in the email, and it's like, oh, what was that email about? I gotta respond, And then you feel bad, like, if I don't respond right now, I'm never going to respond, or it's gonna take me a week, and then I gotta just do it right now. And that's what I struggle with a lot of the time. It's like, kind of the feeling of always having to give yourself, and people can get worn out that way when they're always giving, and like life is like a coffee cup, and you have to keep your cup full before you can pour into anyone else's. And if your cup goes dry, you don't have anything left inside of you.
You are brilliant. You are brilliant. What? So
I watched a lot of Oprah growing up.
You alluded to the fact in your own struggles with some anxiety issues at times, exercise for you is important for your mental health. Talk about that for a second.
How I exercise.
Yeah, and how that, do you feel that something's a little left or right of center when you don't exercise?
Yeah, I definitely notice weeks. I live on the 5th floor of my apartment, and I noticed such a difference after just 2 days of me not taking the elevator, and I just walk up the steps. I walk down the steps, I let my dog out, I walk down, and I walk back up. But I just feel such like a pent up anxiety is just, it kind of erases a little bit when I'm moving around, when I'm doing stuff. I'm keeping my mind busy. I'm challenging myself. Okay, I don't want to go to the gym, I don't want to do this, but I showed up. I got here, I might as well do something, whether it's walking for 10 minutes or lifting something 20 times and then leaving.
Even when you feel like not going.
Just do it. It's
Wow.
like, I forget his name, but it's like a video where he's like, just do it. That's what I think of in my mind.
Well, I mean, you've shared so much great stuff, and we're going to visit for a couple of minutes after we get off the program, because I want to get all the information and post it on my Facebook page, the contact information on how we can get people to go to our Facebook pages, and if you need help, seek help, reach out to us, but more so than us, reach out to people that are professionally trained, and we've got those resources available to you, and we'll make those available on our Facebook pages. They're all over our website, but we'll put it kind of attached to this link on the website, on the Facebook pages. So, Cali Hubbard, you're such a blessing to our station and to the community. We welcome you with open arms. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Johnny. Can I give you a hug?
Please
Is that
do.
allowed?
How sweet. Oh, Cali Hubbard, you can watch her every weekday morning on 9 News This Morning. And again, we are going to post some stuff on the our Facebook page within the next half hour. So go to my Facebook page, Johnny AHYSEN, WAFB. Go to Cali. Go to our main page. And if you are dealing with any kind of anxiety issues, the smallest issues to the larger ones, talk to somebody. Get help. Don't wait until you feel like there's no other option but to do something harmful, because there is help out there. You're not walking through this alone. And that's the thing that helped me, was when I talked to people and then they started opening up a little more. And I remember having coffee with a friend thinking, you are the last person I thought would have had an anxiety issue. And he's going, oh my gosh, yeah. And he's in counseling and medicated and this kind of thing, but there are so many resources out there. So make sure you tap into those, and we're going to help you by putting those up on the website and on Facebook.
Yeah.
Cali Hubbard, thanks for being on the AHYSEN Nation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. All right, well, we will both see you on 9 News tomorrow morning. And again, watch our Facebook for updates and things like that. If you are watching on YouTube, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell so you'll know when we're on the air with all of our programs. Like us on Facebook as well. And watch us on TV tomorrow, 9 News this morning, 4:30 until 7. We'll see you then. Take care. Have a great Tuesday.